Okay, so this is a quick just kind of tutorial on using Teams and Office 365 and all that fun stuff. To get to Teams, it should be on your desktop. It should be like right here. It's a little purple icon. If it's not there, that's okay. You can still get to it from like essentially your Office 365 account. So if you log into your Office 365 or your email, up on the waffle, just click on that and then it'll say Teams here. If in the event it's still not there, you can click on all apps and then you can search and it will pop up because it's part of our contract with Office 365. So that's how you get to it. So what it essentially looks like is kind of what is happening here. There we go. Is it will bring you to a page. It'll bring you to a page that kind of looks like this. It might be more, instead of like a thumbnail, it might be just like a list of your classes. Or when you can start getting classes in, they'll be there. So these are all of my classes that I've had for the last 2 years since I started using Office 365. So I'm going to use my AP Bio class from this year. So if I click on that, you have these little icons off to the left upper side. Activity, that'll tell you if anybody like does anything in the group chat for any of your classes. You can also chat private conversations with people, so it's kind of like instant messaging. Meetings, this is like your calendar, and then you have your files. So these are all of the files that I've essentially uploaded in the last 2 years, and then you have your assignments. And so anytime you assign something, instead of having to go from team to team, it'll just load right here, and then you can just click on them here, so it just makes it a little bit easier. So in Teams, you have these little these tabs up here at the top. You can also add some tabs if there's like something that you like to use or that your students will be using. So up there I have Polly. She's to help like create polls. You can add like a website if you have a class website. So it just makes it a little bit easier for students to find. So you can run through these. I don't know what most of these do, but just a quick Google search can help kind of tell you about them. I don't use them very much, but so the first one is going to be the conversation. So again, this is like instant messaging, but you can type out like reminders to your entire class, or you can give them, like I gave them this Hardy Weinberg video for them to watch if they needed some extra help with it. One of my students added a meme. So it's just something where it just gives it an easy way where if they're at home, or if it's like a snow day, or if it's a long weekend and you need to remind them of something, or if you do want to give them something to do on a snow day, they just have to make sure they check their team. It'll also post like reminders automatically as soon as you assign something. It'll post it here. So again, it's just an easy resource for them to look at and be like, oh. The files tab here, so this is where I usually post all of my notes. So if I click in one of the folders, you just click new and then a folder, and then you can title it. So if I go here to the mitosis meiosis, I have the PowerPoints loaded so they can take the notes. The only thing with this particular tab for files is that they the students can't edit them, so you have to like remind them to be really careful with that. And I'll show you how to assign homework in just a second so that they can edit their document, but they don't edit your like master document. So in here, this is where I would put the notes. I would also put the videos that I recorded. So like trying to find one here. Why are they not? There we go. So here's like the videos I recorded for them for flipped classroom so that they could get a sense of sense of me explaining it. So it just went right along with their notes, and I was just talking. So, so those are the files. But again, you just have to be kind of careful because, like, see down here, students started well, these ones students could edit. So this I used as a platform for students to actually collaborate with each other. So they had to go to their tab down here in their Excel spreadsheet, and then they had to do their assignment for it. Okay, I'll come back to class notebook because that is a huge, I don't know if you've had experience, so if you have had experience with class notebook in the past, you can just skip that part. But, so this is the assignments tab. So whether or not it was a computer assignment or whether it's a computer assignment or if it was like a paper assignment, but I just wanted to have them have a reminder because they can download this app on their phone. So if they get an assignment on, assigned to them, it'll pop up with like a reminder instantly on their phone, and then that way they can just check it also, and they can sync it to their own calendar. So it's kind of cool. But to create an assignment, you just come up here to create. You can do assignments or quizzes. I've done both. I like doing the online quizzes, and I can show you how to do that sometime. If you're interested, just let me know. Because they grade them for you, and I love when they grade it for me. But anyway, so a new assignment, you just click there. You can assign it to multiple sections if you need to. So if it's something that you're assigning to all of your biology classes, you can just click them there. And then if you ever have any students that are exempt, or if like you're doing only a couple of students need to do this particular assignment because they missed a lab or whatever, you can do it that way. So give it a title. You can give verbatim instructions, and then the resources down here, this is where you can add your document. So if it's like a homework assignment that they actually have a piece of paper for, I will also post it here so that when they get home and they're like, oh my gosh, I lost my assignment, they can come into school the next day and they can just print it right here. They don't have to worry about coming and finding me finding an extra copy. It just takes a lot of the stress off of me and puts it more on them. And so hopefully has them become a little bit more responsible because they have to take those extra steps to go into the library and print it and all of that fun stuff. So they have all of their access to their homework at all times. That way, again, if something does happen at midnight and it's due the next day and they do have a printer at home, they can just get it done right there. So you can also set the due date. So if this is something that's not due for 3 weeks, you can put that there, and then you can add a rubric if you want to. You can add a time due. So if it's something that they do need to turn in, you can have it due essentially at the beginning of class, get it as close. I don't think this one you can actually change the time. Let me kind of mess with it here. Nope. So they go in 30-minute increments, so get it as close to the start of class as possible if that's what you choose to do. You can schedule to assign it later. So you can like fill in your entire unit's homework right here, and then you can just assign them later. And then turn in late allowed, yes or no, depending on the project. Sometimes I'll let them turn it in late. And then you just hit save. I'm going to discard this one so that my students don't freak out. So once they have an assignment and they have turned it in, this is what your page will look like. So sorry to do that. I'm on the assignments page. And so I just click on the assignment and it'll look like this, and it looks like nothing's been done. But if you go up here to review, this is when you get your class roster, and it tells you exactly who's turned it in. And then like where it says returned here, these are the students. I have comments on theirs. The student right here, I actually wrote on his, but the others where it says returned, I returned it back to them. And then it'll tell you exactly who turned it in and who didn't. At least who turned it in and who didn't in terms of on the computer if they submitted it that way. If they submit it to you in person, then it obviously wouldn't tell you that. Okay, so the last thing is class notebook. So I'm going to try to go through this really quickly. I see it, bud. Class notebook is, again, I've had students use this thing religiously, and I've had students who've hated it. So I kind of leave it up to them. We should all have a computer cart in our classroom. So students do have the ability, if they want, they can type out their notes. You know, I always tell them it's better to handwrite them, but, you know, different preferences for different people. But class notebook is essentially a giant notebook for you. So you can think of it like having a different notebook for each class, and then each of those notebooks having different tabs. So you have some for, like, you have a tab for each student, you have a tab for the content library. So essentially what it is I clicked on the little purple arrow that was up here, and there's a welcome, so it kind of gives you a little bit of information. The collaboration space, this is where students can work together on stuff. So it's very similar to like Google Classroom, or I'm trying to think what Apple's version of this, just Apple anything. So this is where you can assign groups, and you can, I want to say you can password protect these, but I'll have to kind of go through my own little tutorial to remind myself how to do that. But you can choose the groups, and then they have to work together. So, and then this is where they can just simply type in, they can type in on their computer, and it'll update for everybody. This is where if you have something that's super sensitive in terms of, like, you really don't want anybody to edit it, or they need to have somewhere where there is an original, the content library of your class notebook. So again, all of the students will have access to this. So these first 3 or 4 tabs, excuse me, my students, all of them had access to. And so anything in the content library is something that cannot be edited. They can download their own, so they could double click on the icon here and it would download their own, but they cannot edit this one. I can edit it, but they cannot. And then finally, students each have their own tab. Now, they would not be able to see each other's. They can see their own. So if I choose a student here, choose Lorena. So if I drop down Lorena's notebook, then she has her own tabs. And so there's a tab for notes if she wants to take her notes in class. There's a tab for handouts. And I can show you again in a longer tutorial how to do all of this, where you can just hand out something to every single student, and then they can edit it in their class notebook. So whether it's an interactive notebook, whether it's something you're doing in class and you want them to add it to their notes later, there's a homework tab. So this was their enzyme case study, which got copied really weird. But again, it's easier for me because this enzyme case study had 33 pages of, like, notes for it. So instead of printing off 33 pages of notes and having them handwrite their answers, I just had them do it on the computer. And then there's also a tabs for quizzes, and you can create your own tabs also. So it's kind of up to you. But that's just a quick tutorial on class notebook. If you want a longer one, let me know and I will make one. But yeah, Teams is like our Google Classroom, essentially. This is how I flipped my classroom. So I found it to be really helpful, and I know other teachers have started using it more and more around Benson. So students should be getting used to it, hopefully. But if you have any other questions, just let me know, and I will try to answer them the best that I can. So.